Attention, attention, stop what you're doing. Because we're coming back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my God!
They went a little crazy with it, and I appreciate it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Well,
I'm typing despite all of you.
Yeah, Johnny Million is just being a typing maniac. I think he's just on ChatGPT he's just like quick asking and stuff like, what's something smart I can say about Dominion election
I was gonna sign up for that until it asked for my phone number. I was like, I don't know, I'm good.
You don't have a dummy phone number you give to things like that?
Oh, I guess I do. I've got an old Google number.
Yeah, use that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I use that for. I have like one of those like Google Chat numbers where it gives you an actual written number.
Yeah.
I just bury it there. Occasionally, it'll ask for two-factor identification or send you a code there, so you have to be able to access it. Otherwise, you just make one up. But speaking of two-factor authentication, did you see that Elon Musk is taking two-factor authentication off unless you're subscribed to Twitter? So,
nice.
So that it's every account that isn't subscribed is totally unsecure and can be, I guess, hacked and stolen or whatever. Also, by the way, I don't know if this should factor into people's thinking. It was immediately my thought was that without that two-factor authentication, it's bot city. One of the things he was saying is like, I'm going to get into Twitter and get rid of all these bots, right? And bots are the problem. Meanwhile, the place is flooded with Elon bots and Tesla bots who are pumping the stock and Russia bots. And it's hilarious. And they're all, you can tell because sometimes, try this sometimes. If you see somebody say something that sounds kind of familiar in your feed or something that's really kind of rubber stampy, copy that text and do a search for it on Twitter. See what happens. Because you'll see 65 tweets come up in a second that are all saying the exact same thing verbatim. That's a bot. That's how, by the way, Bot Sentinel and some of these other sites, that's the quick and dirty version of how they operate, is that they just kind of scan, it'll go to that whoever that account is, look at their top 5 tweets or whatever that's in there, the most recent ones, scan the language in them and see if it repeats anywhere else, and really quick they can tell if somebody is, if it's just cut and paste, which is a human bot. That's one of these Macedonian hacker farms, these Lithuanian dudes who are working on. You
can really hear them typing.
Yes, you definitely can. And then there's the automatic bots that come out of Iran, India, North Korea, Russia, China, I don't know, El Paso. We'll see. But anyways, where were we? Okay, so the Dominion lawsuit.
Fox is two-faced.
Yeah, right. Fox is completely two-faced. And it comes as no shock to anybody that understands that fair and balanced is a trademark, which means legally it does not have to be true. Coke is not life. You do not deserve a break today. And Fox is not fair and balanced. These are all... They do
not do it all for you.
Yes, that's right. They don't. Absolutely. You got to do some stuff for yourself. Ew. But just some things are your own little... They're your big business. So... The fascinating thing about the conversations between Fox News hosts behind the scenes and the outward conversation they were having with their own viewers, which, by the way, is largely the reason why Jan 6 happened. Obviously, OAN and Newsmax and QAnon threads helped, but Fox itself, is the primary driver. It's the one that I think in many ways where the rest of these crazies lay like a foundation of this lunacy, Fox serves as the anchor. It serves as the, or maybe even the capstone on
it's like the touchstone of it all.
Yes, if Fox is carrying it, it's now legit. It's one
now
thing.
A legit conspiracy.
That's right. It's one thing for it to be humming around the internet, but the minute a Fox News host says, gets behind it. And Tucker is all in on that stuff right now. I mean, he is he is almost single-handedly holding down the Ukraine hate stuff. We will be talking about that with Philip Ittner in the next hour, amongst other things. It's fascinating stuff happening in Ukraine right now. So behind I can't even quote some of the stuff that the Fox News hosts were saying, and their executive producers were talking, when they were talking about Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani and basically feeling like they had to have them on. We now know that, by the way, Trump tried to call in on Jan 6th and they wouldn't let him because apparently he was, I don't know what the timing was, but they were concerned. It was before he did his, 3 hours in message about like, go home, we love you. You're very special. See you tomorrow. It was more, they were worried that he would go, get him. Go get him. I'll be right there. I'm right behind you. Munch, munch.
Kick him, Judge.
Yeah, right. Kick him. So it's from the Daily Beast coverage of it. Behind the scenes of the shows where they were amplifying baseless claims that the 2020 presidential election was rigged, the star hosts, producers, and executives of Fox News were furiously messaging each other. They reacted in frustration and bewilderment to their own broadcast, calling the conspiracy theorists to which they were crediting airtime effing lunatics, totally off the rails, and in all caps, mind-blowingly nuts. Yeah. At the start of the explosive brief unsealed Thursday evening as part of Dominion's voting system's $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York, argues Fox knew. From the top down, Fox knew the Dominion stuff was total BS. That's in quotes because that's actually true from there. The filing continues. Yet despite knowing the truth, or at a minimum, recklessly disregarding the truth, Fox spread and endorsed these outlandish voter fraud claims about Dominion, even as it internally recognized the lies as, quote, crazy, absurd, and shockingly reckless.
Yeah.
The partially redacted 192-page filing is stuffed with texts, emails, and testimony from marquee names like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, lashing out at key Trump world figures and insulting them in bitter terms. Sidney Powell, an unguided missile, dangerous as hell, and poison, according to Tucker Carlson. Mike Lindell, on the crazy train with no brakes, as Gary Schreier, senior vice president of programming at Fox Business phrased it. Rudy Giuliani, so full of S. A Lou Dobbs Tonight producer snapped. The concerns wormed their way up the top of the food chain. According to the filing, on November 19, Rupert Murdoch, Fox's powerful chairman, watched as his networks broadcast the entirety of the press conference held by Rudy Giuliani and Powell, the one at Four Seasons Total Landscaping. Remember that? That seems impossibly that's so silly and hilarious. It seems like it would stand out forever. Just always, it'd be like a cultural touchstone that people are always referencing. And yet,
but it's just kind of faded into. I guess that happened too. It's insane.
It's still crazy. It's still the dumbest, silliest, most absurd. The second person that Rudy Giuliani brought up as a witness was a perennial Republican candidate in New Jersey who, I think it was New Jersey, who was convicted of exposing himself to a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old. Not one of 9 people standing in the back. Not somebody in the crowd looking sketchy and, looking on at the whole thing that just always shows up because he's a huge Giuliani fan. He was the second person to speak at the podium. Rudy called him up. Like, oh, God. Okay, so anyways, obviously, I don't even know if Murdoch knew that at the time, but he called it really crazy stuff and damaging. The message...
For the brand.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. The messages show that Murdoch also at one point asked Fox CEO Suzanne Scott if it was, quote, unarguable that high-profile Fox voices fed the story that the election was stolen and that January 6th was an important chance to have the results overturned. Yes.
Yeah.
That was Maria Bartiromo's gig every Sunday morning. Maria Bartiromo is almost singularly the reason why Dominion has a rock-solid case against Fox News.
That would be really bad if you were her.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They're They might be going after her individually a little bit, but they seem to be going after the bigger organization. So she might still get paid. She might have some sort of contract that if the network collapses, she's guaranteed to get paid before bankruptcy takes the funds or that kind of stuff. That's entirely possible at that scale.
Yeah.
That she'll get paid and get a golden parachute out of this. Obviously, she'll never work again, but she won't have to. But and Fox will take all of it, which, by the way, that's what you get. So, anyways, network executives responded to this query with 50 examples proving as much, the brief states. On November 7th, New York Post, another Murdoch family paper, published an editorial begging Trump to, quote, stop the stolen election rhetoric and help yank Giuliani off TV. Scott, according to the filing, ensured that the editorial, quote, received wide distribution inside the company. That was the same day Fox called the election for President Joe Biden. Less than 24 hours later, Murdoch told Scott, getting creamed by CNN. Guess our viewers don't want to watch it. Meaning their viewers did not want to see that Biden had won. The minute they called it, everybody switched to Newsmax. Remember that? There was like a 2-week period where Newsmax was taking all their business
for one day.
Yeah, sorry, I railed right over the break. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. There's just so much to cover. There's so much to cover. We'll be back right after this.
I know I'm only on one day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
It is. Welcome back. Johnny and I were talking during the break when I was reading on the live stream what things I cannot say from this Dominion lawsuit on broadcast air because they use a lot of naughty words. And one of the big ones was Tucker Carlson in an exchange with Laura Ingraham in these texts says, Sidney Powell is lying, by the way. I caught her. It's insane. And then Ingraham replied, Sidney is a complete nut. No one will work with her. Ditto with Rudy. Carlson had confronted Powell directly the day before. The brief says, you keep telling our viewers that millions of votes were changed by the software. I hope you'll prove that very soon. You're convinced. You've convinced them that Trump will win. If you don't have conclusive evidence of fraud at that scale, it's a cruel and reckless thing to keep saying. So which seemed like a moment of sanity from Tucker Carlson. But what it really was is in that line where he's saying, Sidney Powell's lying, by the way, I caught her, it's insane, is because he had been promised personally by her that she was going to drop evidence on his show. And she didn't. He didn't care if she lied to the public. He was mad because she lied to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think he's worried about people coming on his show and lying to the public, have you seen his interviews with Jimmy Dore and with Matt Gaetz? For Christ's sake! All right. Anyways, this was an ongoing thing, obviously, and at the same time, in that report was on the afternoon of January 6th, after the Capitol came under attack, Trump dialed into Lou Dobbs's show, attempting to get on the air. But Fox executives vetoed that decision. Why? Not because of a lack of newsworthiness. January 6th was an important event by any measure. President Trump not only was the sitting president, he was a key figure that day. The network rebuffed Trump because it would be irresponsible to put him on the air and could impact a lot of people in a negative way, according to Fox Business Network President Lauren Pedersen, whose testimony was cited by Dominion in the new filing. This fact, Dominion argues, is evidence that Fox executives understand they had fanned the flames by pushing the fraud conspiracy. This was an awareness of guilt on their parts, and they didn't want to dig a deeper hole. According to this is, I mean, it's very telling that, A, they didn't trust having him on. They were tired of having him on at that point anyways. He had lost. It was time to move on. They were already, Murdoch and his world, for even before January 6th, were like, okay, he's not happening again. We're not going to back him again. So who's next? They were already staring at DeSantis and Kasich and whoever else had made a run of it last time and were a possibility, and they weren't going to allow this going forward to, to interrupt their plan for world domination. But in the meantime,
I just heard that Facebook isn't live.
Oh no! Oh dear! I wonder why. I'll see if I can remedy that. Is it too much that does everything have to work? Hold on. Let's see if this. I'll do the old turn it off and turn it back on.
I like that.
There we go. Hopefully, it kicks stuff back in. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yep. Possibly. Let me know in the chat room. I'm sorry. I was so, quite frankly, I was so chuffed, to use a British term, that we were on and smooth. And
I was with you.
Quality-wise, you look fantastic, Johnny Million. Can I just say I can see you clearly. It's a beautiful thing. Also, by the way, if you're...
You always look good. I'm so tired of telling you.
Oh, that's very sweet. Don't make me take my shirt off. So, I know.
I don't know what to say to that.
Nobody does. I'll tell you my secret after the show. So, anyways, Fox was aware that they had caused a lot of this stuff. And in the background, they were like, oh dear. At some point, they were, I don't know why, they were under some impression that the only ill that would come out of this was people killing people on January 6th. They were like, they were hearing all the rumblings.
Hope that's it.
Yeah, right. Let's hope the least, if it's a little bit of, what are they really going to do? They're going to run up the steps and, stab a couple of cops with flagpoles that have been sharpened, or, build a gallows and tase people and break, chip cops' spines, make them lose an eye, all that kind of stuff. And what didn't occur to them, I guess early on, right after the election, was that it might cost them money. And
that's when they pay attention, huh?
That's when they started to, set up and take notice in this particular instance. And they didn't care if it was a ratings issue for them, perhaps. They needed the eyeballs, but the lawsuit possibility didn't seem to occur to them. They just figured they could slander this company, which, by the way, was like rare and thinly spread out through this country. Like the number of Dominion machines, even if every Dominion machine in the country was completely hacked and flipped votes and did everything they say, it's still, there weren't enough of them operating in the country to shift the election.
So even if even if every single Dominion machine did the exact opposite of what it was supposed to do, it still would not have affected the national outcome.
Not at all. Not at all. It largely, like, the only thing I think it could have possibly had an impact on were some primaries. But none of them were arguing about the primaries. None of them were saying our person didn't get in the primaries. You know why? Because they did. The hyper right-wingers that they were running, what they didn't believe was that I can't understand why my MAGA candidate didn't win the general. They won the primary. Yes, they won that primary. And they were unpopular broadly. They just won for your party out of several lunatics that you were running. And they won on the same machines you're saying cheated them out of the general.
Yeah, you cannot have this both ways. Some Republicans won. Wouldn't it be all of them? Or are they giving us too much credit, saying like, oh, they would know to let some people win?
You're kind of onto something, though. Johnny Million, you are onto something there, because part of this is the whole rhino thing. The pushback that you're seeing, where there's this weird situation where they managed to win the more centrist Republican managed to win against, they were like, I don't get it. We love Trump. Nobody else in your county does. They just won't tell you because you're a lunatic and your yard is covered in horrifying signs of Trump with his shirt off and Rocky's body. So they're not bringing it up to you. The reason you think everybody in your county loves Trump is because the only people who will talk to you are people who love Trump, which is basically you and your reflection. And everybody else in the county is like, that's, yeah, we're gonna, yeah, no, just steer clear. If he starts on politics, we'll all talk sports. Got it? Okay, cool. And then they get shocked when their person loses the general.
Yeah.
And so what you kind of hit on there was how do you solve that obvious problem with the logic, which is if you're a normal human being, you would go, perhaps
green one.
Right, perhaps I am in a bit of a bubble. Perhaps I'm smoking my own stash, my own supply. And so at what point do I have to recognize that I was wrong? Well, that can never happen. No, clearly what happened is that I'm right and the world is fixed against me. And that's an enormous act of ego. And there's plenty of that going around in the spread of politics. But in the MAGA world, it is narcissistic. Absolutely. It's if only Narcan could do something about it. You could walk up to somebody who's just completely full of themselves and
ego psycho's leg.
Give them a shot of humility right in the tuchus.
If only.
If only, right. People would try to do it with me all the time. I'd be like dodging. Get back. Hey.
I like my ego.
Yeah, right. Humility kills in my business. It's a way to ruin your career. So, yeah. You know what? I should just sit.
I don't know. Rodney Dangerfield, it kind of worked for him.
I don't know. I think that was reverse psychology.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because I think in many ways, if you ask comics, he's one of the most respected comics out there that ever existed. Just for the, just saying, might have been an act. Might have been, because did you see the women he was paired with in the movies that he did? Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't think he bought it. Anyways, we have to take another break, and I don't want to blow through this next one. Yeah, we're blazing right away, and I have I want to talk. I guess the desanctimonious meatball. Really, meatball. We're going with meatball. Is that how we're doing it? We're just going Johnny Million.
What's happening, meatball? What?
Oh, you'll see after we come back. Yeah.
All right.
We're going with meatball. Yep. Yeah, that's where we're going. That's the big. It's the House Sparks Radio program. Mega worldwide. Oh, look at that. We hit 48K on YouTube. What's happening? Come on, 50. Let's do it. I know you're out there. I know you're watching. Give a thumbs up and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything on YouTube, especially.
And hate us up close.
That's a spicy meatball.